Board games, it's what I'm talking about. I'm not sure if I'm streaming, but I'm not gonna shout. Today, I'm sorry that my computer isn't working. It seems to be doing something bad. It's malfunctioning, and now my computer happens to freeze. I would say that I hate days such as these, but honestly, my computer normally works, and now I don't know what to do. Board games, it's what I want to talk about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Do. Hello. Testing. Okay. Yep. It seems like my computer has frozen, but it's still broadcasting, but there's not much point in... Yeah, I'm not going to go too much into it, but basically my computer seems to be working really badly this morning. I had all the pages set up of all the different conventions. I'm not sure if it was too much to handle because I've got too many web pages open. But anyway, sorry about that. And I've started using my mobile phone because my computer, I'll try restarting it while I'm chatting here, and because it is completely frozen right now, even though it's apparently broadcasting, which is really weird. But yes. Hello, Josie. And so hopefully my mobile phone can work. Come on, click the comments. Oh, turns out I can't click the comments properly, but hello, Josie. It is lovely to see you. And yes, that was definitely quite some feedback to UK time. And so I'm going to... Yeah, for some reason my touch is not working. It is time for Busy Beats and Board Game Blether. I am just going to carry on, and if this is a topic that I'm going to make it a short one because... Oh, hello again. Yes, I've managed... I can click stuff. Hello, Matt. It is lovely to see you. And I hope that you're generally well. And yes, IT support would be good if you were physically right here, but Yeah, maybe the spirit of you will allow my computer to do stuff better. I will make sure that everything is closed except for Firefox when I reopen it again. Anyway, for now, I'm going to carry on with this, and let's go to, it's 10 a.m. UK time. I hope you're well. It might be evening or afternoon or morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. Another board game, Busy Beats and Board Game Bladder. Today, as suggested by Josie, I am going to tell you about a bunch of different conventions. I basically started off listing all the ones that I could see in my calendar. Then I listed the others that I could think of that I've been to. And then I looked at a thing that I wrote in 2018, which was my favorite conventions of that year. So I put it there. Anyway, sorry, we are going to talk about quite a few different things. We're going to talk about City of Games, Uncon, Glasgow Games Festival, BGDevCon, Compulsion, FBGCon, which is in Letchworth Garden City. We've got Compulsion in Edinburgh. I said that Diceni, Keynes, Bastion. These are the relatively small conventions. And then you've got the toy fairs, the London Toy Fair, the Nuremberg Toy Fair that I've been to. And then you've got what I would call the medium conventions, the ones that are like a destination. Even if you don't know anyone, you can still have a good time. There's like so many. To be honest, all of these, if you don't know anyone, you can still have a good time. But you've got Tabletop Gaming Live, Dragonmeet, Tabletop Scotland, Airecon, and of course the biggest one, UK Games Expo. But we're not going to stop there. I already mentioned Nuremberg, but I'm also going to talk about Festival International de Jeux in Cannes, and I'm going to talk about Spieltage, better known as Essen, simply named after the city in which it's held. It's as if UK Games Expo was for some reason called Birmingham. Oh, have you been to Birmingham? And Birmingham being such a far out city that the only reason to visit it is to go to this one convention. That's pretty much what's happened with Essen. And so, Firstly, bonjour, Ian. It's lovely to see you. I seem to have a bit of a sore throat. It's a cold. I'm fairly sure it's not COVID. Josie says, are the technical problems me or is it the streaming platform? It's not me as a human, but it is my computer, sadly, which is really concerning. The computer this morning has just been, the screen has been turning off. Okay, I've got, and I'm just going to try and sort this out. Quit InDesign now. Open that because I was working on something last night. Yep, I'm just going to force quit a whole bunch of things. Josie says, I'm nervous about going to smaller conventions as it feels like everyone knows each other already. Yeah, I can totally get that. But I think that at the same time, everyone is there to have fun. If they just wanted to be with their friends, then they would, meet up with a personal thing. That has already happened. There are people who meet up with an invite-only thing, like Tony Boydell, who has a gathering of chums. Obviously, a knockoff is a harsh word, a nod to Gathering of Friends by Alan Moon, where it's kind of, you need to be invited and you need to be invited by someone who's been invited. And so that's the way it goes. And then Tony Boydell's thing, it's, hey, Tony, it's basically a big birthday party for Tony. And of course, I've been to gaming conventions at someone else's house and stuff. But, yeah. Ian says, the Airecon war of cards is escalating. Better than rage quitting, turning off the screen. Give me just a moment. I do apologize for this once more. Let's see if there's anything I can force quit. Force quit Safari, force quit that. Why did I have that open? Sure, I will force quit literally everything except for Firefox, and hopefully, and even preview with like the comic that I read like one panel of and then got distracted for even the calendar. And now I will restart the session and see if my computer can finally work. Yes, secret handshakes for getting into the gathering of chums or whatever. Yeah, that's a thing. It's more just people want to game with the people that they know. Okay, I am going to be just one moment. Hello! Yes, I am on my computer. Brilliant, finally. Okay, fingers crossed it stays up. And sorry about all the technical issues today. I am very infuriated. I wonder if it is just the number of windows I open I have. I hope it is, fingers crossed, but hopefully it should all be good for now. So yes, we are talking about conventions. That's what we're doing. And to get us started off, I am going to go back to talking about recent highlights, living life, and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Well, a very recent highlight is getting back on the laptop. It's like that old song, Big Yellow Taxi. You don't know what it's gone, what you've got till it's gone. It's like, you know, obviously that song was about romantic relationships and love and someone going away. Or there was another version about, I think, parental relationships and someone going away, which is quite sad. But, you know, in this case, it is just my computer and it feels weird, like expressing love for an inanimate object. But I was thinking, oh my gosh, is this working? What's happening? Like, do I have to get it sent to get it sorted, which will be expensive? And so having this working, that is brilliant. And that's definitely a recent highlight. Slightly less recent highlights. I'll just move this out the way. I drew this cover. So this cover is for a game that Chris is going to be sending to get printed in time for Airecon, a game about drawing creatures, complementing the drawings, then complementing the complements. This is a very experimental thing, and I hope that people have fun with it. Also, I drew 2 cards for cosplayers. So, do I have the actual cards? Yeah, here I do. So you can see this is a creature that I drew for one of the wee whimsical creatures in a game about wee whimsical creatures and try to identify them after someone makes noises. And I've drawn a human cosplaying as my creature because this is going to be a promo card for a game about wee whimsical creatures and try to identify them after someone makes noises. And you can only get it if you're cosplaying. So just come to my stand at any convention, and if you're cosplaying, I will give you it. I'm not going to judge the quality of your cosplay, just that you've gone to some effort. And this was my first thing, quite happy with. So you see they've got a big fuzzy head, and they've got the little strap with the fake arms and a fishtail. They are cosplaying as this character from my next game, a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different, sans counting your turnips. And so yes, that is a card only for cosplayers, and hopefully the idea is that this is going to encourage a couple more people to cosplay. Also, this is something that I'd previously drawn for a game about drawing creatures, complementing the drawings and then complementing the complements. This is for the front. It's meant to be quite jolly, quite happy, but the R was slightly problematic because it stuck out a little bit. So there was a bit of a spacing issue. And so I redrew the R, just the R, and so that's the new R, and it kind of seems to fit together better. Also, I drew a second version, which was bold. I was worried of my alphabet. I was worried that this might be problematic. The reason that G is quite a bit thicker is because it needed to be shrunk down, we realized, because of the baseline and everything. But yeah, this seemed to work well. I wasn't sure if it would be readable. The E I wasn't sure about, but then I tried one quickly drawn, and that was just too much variation in line thickness, so that didn't quite work. And finally, I drew a couple of pictures for giftable. So if you want to think ahead, what would you give Vampira the Cow? And what would you give Ordinary Joe and Outrageous Jane? These were a couple of characters that were suggested by other people. And if you follow twitter.com/ELL_deck, there are all sorts of things. But yes, I got told that drawing done. Then I went to dancing. I'm going to be honest, yesterday I had some anxiety and some nervousness about dancing. It was nervousness and anxiety about being accepted. It was anxiety, and also, I'm not going to lie, the wind was really blowing, and that was kind of, but like I was, like, well, I'd gone last week dancing in heels, but there had been a transphobic person on the Thursday who'd refused to dance with me, and someone behind me said, "Well, I'm not going to dance with you either," when he went to dance with her. And like, it was really, really nice to have that show of support, but it's still a reminder how even if people don't decline to dance at me, there's still the thing of, oh, why are you dressed up like this? And that was the thing going on in my head. Do you know what I mean? But I went there. I was, I don't think I had anything special on. I'm trying to remember what I had on my top. Like, I think it was struggling to remember now. It was some sort of red t-shirt, red top, something, and then I had a red flowy skirt and grey leggings underneath and open toe heels. But yeah, all sorts of things. Anyway, conventions. So let's catch up with the chat. So I can't see anything before this comment because I came back on. And so if you've written anything before this comment and I don't see it, then please apologize. But yes, conventions are brilliant. And let's talk about like how conventions are brilliant in just a moment. Fluff by Fez. Josie, talking about recent highlights, says, been planning a board game related cosplay for UK Games Expo, but now our numbers have shrunk, so need to have a new idea. Awesome. So you can get the cosplay only promo card, and I hope that that inspires you, and I hope that you want to come over. And also, yeah, thank you for the solidarity. I do appreciate it. It's like, to hell with those people, and I would say stronger words if I were not trying to make this a family friendly show. But yeah, those people. But except don't. And the annoying thing is that it's everywhere. Like, I had someone that I thought was a decent person that I was going to possibly see over the weekend, and then I sent them a photo of me that I thought was looking good, and then in response they just reply, looks great, but I would like to see you with less facial hair. And it's like, in those photos I have just shaved, and like I've even got some foundation on. It's like, yes, there's always going to be a little bit of masculinity there because that's the chromosomes that I was born with. That's like that's like the hormones that are going through me. But like, yeah, I don't want to get too into it. But anyway, I do apologize for going off on this tangent. Hello, Yoda. It is lovely to see you here. I hope you're generally well. Do people cosplay at Airecon? That is a good question. I have never seen anyone cosplaying. I have not seen many people cosplaying outside of UK Games Expo and literally 2 other conventions, one of which I will mention today, one of which I deliberately chose not to mention today because I do not wish to recommend it to anyone because it's kind of problematic. And if you look through my everything that I've been to, you might find that there's an omission. You might find that there's something happening in London that I no longer go to because the organisers are problematic people. But anyway, I don't like to even mention such things by name. But yes, cosplaying, I think it needs to be encouraged. And when I had Holly on, it was Holly that inspired me to do this card, that if people see, hey, cosplaying is not only encouraged, but actually rewarded, because we talked about when I went to Compulsion. Actually, let's just get into the main topic, unless anyone wants to talk about any other recent highlights. Let's talk about brilliant things. Brilliant things. What's the list of languages? Brilliant. Why are conventions brilliant? Conventions are brilliant because you get to see people. If you are someone who loves board games, if you're someone who's excited by new releases, if you're someone who's excited by playing with new people, meeting new people who love the same thing that you do, you can do all of that. We can have demonstration games to try something that maybe you don't have. You can check things out of a library. You can try things that have just come out, get taught by the designers. You can play against the designers. You can play giant games. Sometimes at a lot of UK conventions, there's extra events. Like there might be talks, there might be comedy shows, there might be all sorts of things. It's like almost a festival. It's fantastic. And there's a sense of, empowerment. There's a sense of validation when you see all these people around you that enjoy the same things. And, at most of these places, like, they're all really good about having a solid, I completely forgot. So I did want to mention one more thing for the recent highlights, and I am going to go back. But yeah, conventions are bleeping amazing. Yeah. Bleeping brilliant. So yes, for also, this is my font. The top one is the bold one, the bottom one is the not bold one, and you can see the difference. And so this one is, there was just a bit of variation. Like some of the letters seemed a little bit heavier, some of them seemed a little bit thinner. Like G especially, the thinness of that was problematic. But yeah, and also the variable baselines. But with the bold, it just feels like it sits a lot better. And this, I'm not going to use this for instructions, but it's going to be used for about 2 sentences per card. And so I'm really happy with it for that purpose. Anyway, so there we go. That was my other bits of showing off. Conventions are brilliant because you can, and you can also meet Bez, says Ian. I mean, it's not just about meeting me, it's about meeting Ian, and if you go to Airecon, you can meet Yoda, meet Rodney Smith, and meet Mark Hook, and meet Paula Denning, and meet other lovely people. And if you're a publisher, so I've talked about it from the perspective of a convention goer, someone who's having fun. Also, if you're a publisher, this is an opportunity for you to show off your games, to get validation, to say, yes, my games are something that can bring enjoyment to people. UK Games Expo 2019, one of the happiest moments in my life, just that weekend, having 12 people demoing my stuff. I wish UK Games Expo 2020 had happened, but pandemic, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so even UK Games Expo 2021, that was pretty good, even though it was just the two of us. Seeing people come along, play the games, and the 2 p.m. events, all sorts of people coming and validating it, and that was super fantastic. And obviously that leads to sales. Those sales and conventions are my main source of advertising, I would say, right now. Ian wants to give a shout out to the Bring and Buy. On you go. Shout out to the Bring and Buy. And so now let me get into the specific conventions, and also let me get rid of this little bit. My name, I am Bez. So let's start off with a convention that will not be happening again, but I just want to give a shout out to City of Games 2018. I think that 2019 never happened. The issue was that it started to become overbooked, and Frank West, designer of such games as I Love Cats and Vidorian Gardens, decided that it was bringing a net unhappiness and there was too much stress. But there was so much brilliant stuff that happened at City of Games. This was where they instigated the balloons to show that people that you want to play with people. In City of Games, they had 3 big dexterity games that were always near the front of the door, which were meant to be there as kind of icebreakers. It was perfect in terms of number of people, and all of the next few conventions that I'm going to talk about are very small. This, yes, it is a destination convention. Yes, people came from out of town, but here there were like, I want to say, I exhibited there twice, and I think in total there were about 5 exhibitors across the 2 years. Like the first year there was a local, might be forgetting someone, but there was Paul Grogan both times. There was a local shop that was selling their stuff, and the first time there was also me and ITB Games, I want to say, and then the second time there might have been as many as like 5 people per convention, and I was one of them. Like, I was privileged. Like Frank said, yeah, Bez, you show people a good time at conventions. Come here, and I think that's the key thing. Like, sure, I was there as a publisher, and it did very much change my relationship with the convention versus going there as an attendee, which is what I had been planning to do. But it was just, I never saw the tables get full. There was always one table empty, but then at the same time, it was never less than half full. So the number of attendees and the size of the venue was perfectly chosen. And this was its downfall, that there was no good venue in Bristol, because there is clearly a demand. And this is what that tells me anyway. So that's something that's never going to happen again. Uncon, it might happen again, but I doubt it. Uncon, you can see they've still got Uncon 2020 promoted there. This was done by Darius Twyman, who was running a board game group, bringing people into board games and explaining what's going on. And you can see, hey, there's Mandela. Oh, cool. And that's special guests. Oh, doesn't. But yeah, obviously this is all based on 2020, and then this was a really nice convention that made me realize how much of a difference lighting makes, because this was in a school with a big skylight, and it was fantastic. Everyone just had a grand old time, and again, a very small convention, maybe 100, less than 200 people for sure. But these things are popping up all the time, and then they go down. The first 4 are things that may or may not happen. Glasgow Games Festival, I believe it could happen again. It stopped for the pandemic, but I think that so here, my bias, I know Nick Smith, who runs Glasgow Games Festival, and I used to play regularly with them once a week and had a lovely time. And this is a one-day convention. Now, I spoke to Richard Denning of UK Games Expo, who told me, oh yes, I always have a lovely time at Glasgow. And that's the thing, even though it's just a one-day convention, as a publisher, it can still actually be really worth going to. I wouldn't recommend it for someone coming from Southport, for example, or Brighton, or Portsmouth. That's pretty down south, or Cornwall. You know, like, to go all the way up there and then you've only got one day, unless you can. And that's the thing, like, once a convention becomes a certain length, that's when it can become more like a holiday. And the interesting thing isn't, yeah, exactly, this is what I was going to get to next, that it's, most of these conventions, the biggest cost is not the entry fee. I'm not even going to bother going down and figuring out the entry fee. I mean, for Nuremberg Toy Fair, it's more expensive. It's a industry event. For Essen, and it's more expensive. For some of them, it's free entry. And I'll talk about that in passing. But it doesn't matter. Fundamentally, it comes down to where are you? How can you get there? How much does it cost to travel? Do you have to take time off? Are you working? Do you have to do you have to book a place to stay? And the other thing I would say is that with all of these, if you can volunteer with someone, maybe volunteer with me. I mean, obviously I'm biased. I would love more people to volunteer to help me out. I will always, if you're helping me out for a substantial part of the weekend, I will always offer you accommodation, and I will try to make it so that it's a holiday that, yes, you're working for part of it, but you get some time to enjoy yourself and it doesn't cost you anything. And that was the thing about when my first ever convention, UK Games Expo, where I worked directly for the convention back when they were in the Clarendon suites, and just moving around chairs, setting things up, but it's excitement because everyone you're working with is part of the games thing. And yes, 100% agreed with Ian. Glasgow Games Festival is a good day out, but that's all it is. It's a day out. So again, if you're traveling from 1,000 miles away, it's probably not worth it. Lighting is vital, 100%. That sounds amazing, Josie. Would you like to help me out at UK Games Expo? I will add you to a Facebook chat group that I've got going on. But yes, and Ian says, if you're willing to travel a couple of hours, please go. See, this is the thing. It's always a question of payoff. Like, I would cycle happily 2 hours to when my sister was living on the other side of London. I would cycle 2 hours to get to her place, and then I would stay the night, maybe even stay a couple of nights, and then I would cycle back the next day or the following day. But if I'm hanging out with you for an hour, obviously that's not worth it. You know what I mean? It's like the longer a thing is, the more enjoyable it is, the more special it is. And I'm going to be honest, again, going back to last night where I was feeling a bit of anxiety, the fact that I knew that even if I turn up a little bit late, I'll still be accepted, it'll still be okay. That made me happier to go. The fact that Google Maps says it's only 10 minutes, it's actually more like 15, maybe even 20 once you've done all the locking up and once you sign in and once you've done all of that stuff. But like from here, leaving this door to walking into the door of the classroom, it's about 20 minutes for me. But knowing that it was only that rather than being 40 minutes and I could go back if I really wanted to, that's always nice. So yes, Glasgow Games Festival, and here we get to the end. Well, this is the final thing that isn't regularly happening. This is obviously very biased. Oh, there's a little video. I wonder what, I've not watched this. Oh, and so this was when we were trying to think of making another one for 2018. I think we did another one for 2019. But yes, BGDevCon is a convention that I set up along with Andy Angu, and the idea is that it's for anyone who's interested in the creation of non-digital games. So there was no playtesting allowed. There wasn't meant to be, it wasn't a games playing convention. It was a convention for discussion, for collaboration and sharing ideas. And this is a really interesting thing. And I'm going to talk about the toy fairs later on, but this is kind of a specialist thing. And I think that the games industry, it's big enough now to have things like this, like Protospiel, like Uncon, and Protospiel and Uncon are coming to the UK. I've not been yet. I think that one of them did happen. But there are specialist events. And I'm not going to focus too much on this other than saying, yes, I am thinking that in the future I might take some inspiration from these where I had the tiny micro talks and put that into my 100th episodes. So for my 600th, it will be like everyone does a 5-minute micro talk. And Yeah, Josie says, that sounds like an interesting idea. I have some ideas, but I don't know where to get started. I think that, I can't remember where you're based. I don't know if you're willing to share publicly, but if you go to Playtest UK, there are all sorts of events happening. And this is like, again, the question of what is a convention, and it's a really fuzzy line what a convention is. Okay, Suffolk, so I guess you could potentially come to Waterloo on a Friday daytime, but it might be a bit labour intensive. You might have to take a day off work. It might be a bit timely and costly in terms of time and money. But I was going to say, if you go to like one of our Friday daytime playtests, then it's love to talk. Or if you're able to get into Victoria, there's a train station near there. Can't remember what it's called. Victoria train station, might be that. But every one Sunday a month, there's the Playtest UK, and people gathering up. And if you're able to go for like people's it really starts at 1 p.m. But if you go there at 12 noon, then there might be a few people, and you can say, hey, I just want to get an idea of what's going on. And then you can get an idea of how other people playtest, how other people go through that process, and you can talk to them directly. So, frankly, if you're free this Sunday, I would absolutely recommend, if you're within the London expanse, then potentially worth a trip. Coming in, aiming for 12. Come to the Drugged Hare in Victoria. It's not the other Drugged Hare like in North London. It's the Drugged Hare in Victoria on Vauxhall Bridge Road. And then we stay around and then we playtest. Anyway, that is that. And this convention it had like 2 hours of quick micro talks and then unorganized chit chats, and the unorganized chit chat was for people to get to know each other, and there was like an icebreaker game in the morning. So it's also about that networking, about knowing other people, and the idea that like maybe by the end of the day you'll have found a new co-designer or something. Okay, I'm going to talk about Compulsion, which is definitely coming 2023. Now I'm all the remaining conventions. I just really wanted to give a shout out to those four because they've brought me so much joy. And I'm going to make sure that I talk about what's great about these things. So Compulsion, it's great because it has a brilliant policy about anti-harassment. And I think the way that it had literally called out, hey, you can't discriminate on people based on this, you can't discriminate people based on that. That was the first time that I actually felt, you know what, I can dress how I want. I am going to put on my big boots with the 5-inch heels for a day, and I had like a different outfit for each day. And I've got to admit, with those tall heels, I wasn't moving around very much. And nowadays, I don't go to conventions in heels. I always wear flats. It's just too much for a convention. And I would rather have my run around a convention, have a bit of, but yeah, just being able to, having the confidence, and they've got like non-gender toilets. That was a really good thing. That was the first time that I'd seen something like that. And you don't have to make that decision of which loos am I going to. It sounds like a tiny thing, but that is such a big thing. And of course, other conventions are getting better at that. Airecon has non-gendered loos. Unfortunately, Essen, most conventions do still have gendered toilets and no non-gendered toilets, but I will call it out when I can. The other thing is it's really good if you want to play long RPGs. They do have a lot of, if you are a beginner at RPGs, if you want to listen to some gentle talks, and it's all run by students. It's run by a lot of people who really, really care about this. It's basically, it used to be Scotland's biggest convention, which was slightly sad, which was why Tabletop Scotland started coming in. But it's in this labyrinthine Edinburgh student place, and you're going around literally this tower with spiral staircase, and the fact that the rooms are in different places is slightly sad, but then you've got one big room with like maybe six people who are doing demos, and then next door you've got maybe 10 people who are not doing demos but are selling stuff, and then you've also got events. You've got the charity raffle, which I love, and I will definitely, if I can, be going to this in 2023. I don't have the energy for the digital convention, but I would absolutely recommend this one to everyone. Honestly, all of these I'd recommend to everyone. Yeah, 100%. Josie, yep, should be non-gendered loos everywhere, at least the option. Okay, this is a convention I have not been at, but I know as much as anyone else, basically, because this is the first time that it's happening, and it is FBGCon. So FBGCon 2022 is happening in 2 days' time. I'm going for the first time. I'm super excited. I'm meant to be getting a delivery of a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different and counting your beetroots today. So fingers crossed I get that delivery, and then I'm going to be able to take it over and show it off and sell it and run a big thing. I think they've sold over 100 tickets, and if you look at there's obviously this is it's not the best website. I can't remember how much the tickets are. It was something like £7 or some. It was a very nominal price, and they've got events going on, and I'm excited to see it. With any of these conventions, as a publisher, I don't think I could. In maybe a few years ago, I would have said, yes, absolutely, I need to do all the work. I need to be a publisher the entire day. What I instead said was, yes, I'm happy to be a publisher. I will be a publisher, and then maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I will pack up. I want there to be a limit. I want to still, when I go to a convention, yes, I love showing off games. Yes, I love having things going on. I love selling stuff, but at the same time, I also enjoy just playing games with other people. I like just wandering around and talking. And so as a publisher, I really appreciate when places like Airecon, they say, you are going to close at this certain time, and then that's going to be it. And so it makes sure that everyone gets a chance to actually enjoy the convention. I think that because otherwise there is the temptation to just sit at your stand and then you don't get to see anything, which is what happens to me at Glasgow, but it's still good fun. Let's talk about Diceni. Okay, Diceni has a few special things going on about it. Firstly, by the way, FBGCon, it's in Letchworth Garden City, about half an hour, £30 from London, and so, yeah, seems reasonable to me. These are all small one-day conventions. FBGCon, Diceni, it's just one day, and so it's really for people who are in the area. They're not trying to push it too far. They're not trying to say, hey, we're going to make a big event of it. They're not aiming at bringing in people from the other side of the country. Frankly, Diceni is just trying to bring in people from within that city. And the fascinating thing about Diceni is I think it is the only convention in the UK that's free entry. So you go there and you don't pay anything. And what I noticed about Diceni is that the people who are there is different to every other convention I've been at. You see older people, you see people with babies, you see, a lot more mothers, you see all sorts of things. You see families coming in. The population inside is almost exactly the same as the population outside. And that is a wonderful thing. And yeah, I saw that I saw you mentioned Diceni on your Instagram, Josie. And so, like, yeah, are you doing something special there, or are you just going as a punter? Are you going as the gaming group? Now, I will say that there's not a lot going on. I don't think that there's enough that if you were a couple of hours away, firstly, it is 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and that's not a long time. They don't really have a big library that you can explore. It's really aimed at bringing in people who aren't already into games, and that's a fantastic thing. Again, they use the forum just outside the library. Anyone can go in there. As a publisher, it's super cheap. They charge me like 25 quid for the table. I go there. This is like the first convention I came back from that I'd had to travel to and I'd had to stay somewhere at, and I still managed to make not a big profit, but a tiny profit. I'm going to admit that on Sunday I had a celebratory meal, which, I think the meal was like a nice meal. It cost me almost 20 quid, and then afterwards I came back home. I had like maybe 10 quid more than if I hadn't gone at all. But also I'd had a wonderful time. I'd sold like so many of my games. I was really surprised. People were really responding well to it. And because I make games that are super accessible and super light and fun party style games, it goes really well with the sorts of non-gamer crowd that's there, and I'm able to show off stuff. And yeah, it's apparently Norwich is just away from Suffolk. For some reason I thought Suffolk was... I was thinking of Sussex. Sorry. Suffolk is quite far away from here, isn't it? Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Suffolk's actually, to come from Victoria to Suffolk, that would be quite a trek. So I do apologise for... but still, if you want to come to one of our playtest meetups, you're very welcome. But anyway, yes, that would be lovely, and it would be great to have a bit of a chat beforehand. But yes, and if we could even meet up beforehand. I personally go on the Saturday. I tend to have a wander around. I tend to have an Airbnb just for the one night, and then I enjoy myself on the Saturday because, hey, new city, I walk around, hey, it looks cool, and then I get to check in, and then I wander around, which is fun. And then the next day I go to the convention, and then I have a nice meal, and then I go back home. But yes, let's definitely talk about that. That would be fantastic. Frankly, the difference between having one person and having two people is massive. Not just for things like loo breaks, but also when you're at a table, if you're doing a demo with someone, then other people come around to see what's going on, and that's the time that you really want to have a second person to say, hey, would you like me to explain what's going on? And now that you're here, would you like me to do a demo with you as well, or bring you into the game? And yeah, having that is a massive difference. But yeah, Diceni, it's a lovely, friendly convention. They do have a tiny bit of cosplay in. They've got people who are doing their demonstration games, and they're really excited to show it off to people. But fundamental, and they do have a few traders if you're already a board gamer and you just want to go and buy things. But again, I know this sounds harsh, but with a 6-hour convention, it's not really a destination thing. But I've always had so much fun with it. It's been energizing, and it's just been a fantastic crowd. And yes, Josie, I understand that you've got your own friends and everything, but frankly, if you could help me out for a good chunk, then that would be amazing. Yeah. Let's carry on talking about small, tiny conventions, But now we're getting into a couple of things that are multi-day conventions where people stay on site. And this is a whole genre where KCON, it's 21st to 23rd of October this year. Bastion, it's happening next weekend. And I need to work out if I can afford to go. Someone owes me money and is not paying me, and I'm quite annoyed about that. And it's a board game publisher that you all know, but I'm not going to name them for professional reasons. And I'm really, really annoyed about it because I'm currently in debt. And anyway, sorry, getting off topic. So, KCON. I went for the first time last year. This is done for Kelly Eckley's birthday, ostensibly. Kelly Eckley, hence K, said, hey, I want to have a birthday. I want to run a convention rather than invite all my board gaming friends. I just want to make it open invite and anyone can come along. And Kelly really enjoys running this thing, and there is some good stuff happening. You know what? I might apply to trade this year. Last year, Kelly did say, oh, if you want to trade, you can. And then I decided that it had been so long. It had been, last year it was UK Games Expo that went as an exhibitor. KCON, I just wanted to relax and do nothing at. And then I went to one in London where I was an exhibitor, and in another one in London that I was an exhibitor. Oh my gosh, I forgot to talk about that first one in London. But yeah, that was sort of an arts and crafts fair. It will never happen again. There's a lot of things. But yes, if you want to volunteer, then like conventions are normally looking for volunteers, and they will help you with stuff as much as they can. You can, do things. I might actually try and organize Yogi Stock Guru. I love KCON. I went there and I just had, let's see if there's any photos or anything. I went there and then there was, gallery. Photo gallery, there we go. Yeah, there were different rooms for different levels of comfort with COVID. There was a tiny library, like that's basically a good chunk of the library, people playing games. And then there was, yes, the exhibitors room, which people were allowed to exhibit for just one day or half a day if they wanted. And that was nice because, frankly, at a small thing like this, you don't want to be trapped in there for the entire thing. You still want to get out and have some fun. But yeah, with a tiny convention like this, I think it's a really good thing to sort of say to people, hey, if you want to exhibit for just a tiny part of it, go ahead. And I think that can bring value to the convention, whilst also being a good marketing opportunity for everyone around. And there they've got some prizes. Oh, that's some nice things that they've said. That's the check-in. All sorts of games being played. And oh yes, this was they had a cake tasting competition. I'm surprised more people, let's go back to the cakes. I'm surprised more people did not come in to taste all the cakes. This was the best part of the convention for me because I've never seen anything like it. Cake tasting at a convention, is that not fantastic? And there's the library again. And yeah, there's a bit of the exhibitor stand. You can see people, making quite a bit of an effort. But it's still fairly quiet. As I say, as an exhibitor, you probably don't want to be there all the time. As a punter, it's lovely. You see new friends. There's a bring and buy. There's all sorts of stuff going on. And so, yeah, KCON, I definitely recommend it to... Yeah, it's lots of fun. I will definitely be going back there. It brought me so much joy. Well done, Kelly. And Bastion, okay. This is a convention where they don't even allow exhibitors. It's not like anyone's tried to be an exhibitor, but it's just go there and do your thing. if you are someone who makes games like myself or Tony Boydell, like, people will want to play test and try your things. Obviously, don't push it, but like, I've been there, I think, 3 times. The first time I went, I didn't play any of my own games at all weekend, and then on the last day, it was Leanne Weaver came along, and Leanne said, "Oh, can you show me some of your games just because I'm curious about them?" And then I showed my games, and I felt, oh, that kind of now makes it feel complete. But it's wonderful because it's about the people at this convention. You've got someone who does baking, and then there's actual baked games, which are the best part. You can probably tell a theme, I really like food. You've got people who are just enjoying party games. You've got people who are enjoying the 18xx style games. You've got some really super long games organized, like Sidereal Confluence and Eclipse. And then you've got some people who are just like, hey, I want to play Glory to Rome. Let's organize this game. And you can organize these things ahead of time. If you're going to a convention, I would suggest to you that you organize no more than half of your time, I would say. But this is more from, like, I don't follow this rule. I've basically never followed this rule. You know what? Scratch that. Forget what I just said. You want to organize some of your time, I think, and you want to leave some of your time open to other stuff. The balance is up to you. It depends on your personality. Do you like things to be organized? Do you like to have a plan? I like to have a plan. And so for that reason, when I'm going somewhere, I like to say, okay, what's going on? And it's once I'm more familiar with the people, once I'm more comfortable with them, that I'm able to go without a plan. But going somewhere without a plan makes me actually stressed out. If I've got too much time where I don't know what to do. And you can have some things that are part of your plan, but you don't need to be on the ball for, like some talks, or have some games that are, easy to play. Remember to organize things like meals and time to relax. That's super important. But yeah, a convention like this, if you've always wanted to try Twilight Imperium, but why not take advantage of the opportunity? And then when it's a 3-day thing, it's like, wow, you can still spend one entire day playing the game, and then you've still got 2 days and a bit left. It's fantastic. It says it's 3 days, but it basically starts on Thursday night, and then it carries on until Sunday night. So yeah, it says 3 days, but it's 3 proper days. Do you know what I mean? It's like Thursday, Fridays. It's also 3 nights, so it's kind of 4 days. Josie says, I like a flexible plan, just in case I find something engrossing. I get social anxiety when I don't know anyone, so plan is helpful. Yeah, flexible plan can be really good. And when that's something like, hey, I will go to this talk, but they're not needing me to be at this talk, but that's something that I will go to if I don't have anything else going on. That can be nice. Or, you know what I mean? And things like when I'm at a convention, nowadays it kind of basically UK Games Expo, Airecon, Tabletop Scotland if I go, all of these basically default to trade hour. Before the trade hours, I set up my stand. Trade hours, I demo stuff. After the trade hours, I have half an hour of debrief, and then I spend the evening. Then that's unplanned. And it's my evenings, I might find other people, I might play a game with them, I might play one of their games, I might play one of my games, might play a game that someone else totally designed, might just chat, might have dinner, might go to the pub, I might go to bed, because UK Games Expo 2021, coming out of the pandemic, I did need a lot of sleep. But yeah, Bastion, I think that key things, it's got a big wall. That's really cool. There's a big, giant medieval wall just outside, like about 10 minutes walk away, and then you can literally go up onto this wall and wander around. It's free. It's amazing. Conwy, it is a pretty place. I mean, it's pretty drab and it's pretty grey, rather grey, but still rather gosh darn good. And man, I would really like, if I can just afford the travel costs. But there's other conventions like this, and the thing about these conventions is when there's like 50 of you or even 100, you go in on day one and then you maybe don't know anyone, but you push yourself into a few conversations, you play some games, and I would suggest playing some light games with different people. Just if you're like me and if you're open to all sorts of games, I mean, obviously I'm advantaged because I'm happy playing short, silly 2-minute games. Like, I'm happy playing a social, laughing out loud game for half an hour, or I'm happy playing a serious, meaty game occasionally where I've got to strategize for 2 hours. But the reason why I play fewer of the 2-hour games is because I like the conversation, I like the meeting of people. And with a 2-hour game, especially with someone that I've never met before, it feels like maybe I don't know you. Maybe we just won't get on. And if I realize that half an hour into a 2-hour game, that's a problem. But if I realize that, 10 minutes into a half-hour game, that's less of a problem. And so, yes, I think that I would recommend something like Bastion. It's not just Bastion, but there's also Paul Fronsworth Harris's Handycon. That's the one. Handycon, I've never been because it clashes with other things. But if you go on to Big to Cut Board Game Trading and Chat UK, there is a calendar. There's all sorts of things. Now I want to talk about a couple of industry events. Let's talk about London Toy Fair and Nuremberg Toy Fair. So, London Toy Fair, if you watched my streams, then I did a live stream from literally inside. I also did a live stream where I went through all the exhibitors. I talked quite a bit about it. But fundamentally, this is a place where if you're a shop owner, you buy stuff for next Christmas. If you're a publisher, you're trying to establish relationships with shops, with distributors. It's not a consumer event. Anyone watching this show could probably get in if they wanted to. It's not like they do an audit into you or anything. Just say you're a designer and whatever. And like the first time I went as a designer, like I was feeling a real sense of imposter syndrome. And now I go there and yes, there's at least Yogi is on one of the stands and that's good. And then I see Flavia and Loisier of Hachette UK and they're like, hey, how are you? And then I see the people at the Ravensburger UK stand and they're like, hey, Bez. And then I'm like, hey, can you remind me of your name? And there's like, I go there to see what there is, to get inspired, to enjoy myself, because yes, it's fun seeing these little trains and the soft toys. And back in the days, I used to be able to go onto the scooters and they had these like things where you balanced on and then you went round, and it was so much fun going on them. And then you could like play with some of the toys. Like it depended on the stand how much they would agree with that. But now I go to kind of meet up with my industry friends. Like I had lovely chats with Chris and Charlie from Tabletop Gaming Magazine, with James Wallace, Ellie Dix, like lots of people. And then there were a few folk that's like meeting the people behind Exploding Kittens and Hachette UK, which is different from Hachette Board Games UK, which is really weird because they both make games. And conglomerates, eh? But yeah, talking to these different people about, hey, maybe you would like my game. Let me give you a sample copy. Hey, maybe you'd like my game. And you're officially not allowed to bring in sample copies, but then if you've got an exhibitor who's a friend, then they can let you in. But yes, London Toy Fair, if you are based in London or near London and you're either, and it's free entry as long as you're within the industry. So I would recommend it. It's good times. It's interesting times. And if you want to go together, let me know. Spielwarenmesse, Nuremberg Toy Fair. Okay, so if London Toy Fair you go to, and it's pretty big, it is pretty big. I mean, it's like, one hall of UK Games Expo, but then Spielwarenmesse. Wow. Like, wow, this is like ridiculous. So remember, this is not just board games. This is not just, yes, there's Haba and Jekyll and people doing kids games that tie in with what you think, but there's also big toys like a hobby horse that you slam your legs together to make it go, and dolls, and there's sportsing equipment, big trampolines. There's like an entire hall of trampolines, and there's an entire hall of party equipment with like balloons and streamers and stuff. And I spent £500,000 in 2020 on a balloon machine, which I was so looking forward to showing everyone at UK Games Expo, and it didn't happen. But hopefully in UK Games Expo 2022, I will have this amazing balloon machine. So yes, Spielwarenmesse. This one actually costs some money. I can't remember how much it is. It's got these things. Forge contacts. Yeah, that's true. You've got, and it's always useful if you make contacts, if you tell people about things ahead of time. And I did make a couple of prototypes. I met up with a few different people from Loki, who's an imprint of Yellow. They said, oh, you might want to make games for our child division. It feels like you're doing some good stuff here. And then I spoke to, starts with a C, Cocktail Games. And, there's some places like Jekyll where if you don't have an appointment, you just can't go in. But there's other people where if you turn up on the first day, you might still be able to get an appointment. Blue Orange, they're a bit overbooked. So you definitely need to get in touch with them at least a month ahead, really. But yeah, this is saying, yeah, you can buy more stuff if you are a shop. They do have some talks, and some of them are in German, some of them are even in English. And yeah, going round, it's super cool seeing, like, there was someone selling games that were literally in a matchbox. That was really cool. And how much are tickets? I remember them being somewhat like pricey. You need to register. It was like 50 quid or something along those lines. But again, as a designer, Nuremberg, the number of board game publishers that were there, the number of big board game publishers that are able to take things into the proper mass market, for me, because that's what I'm aiming for, this was definitely the biggest thing. Yeah, it was fantastic. And of course, you're going there, and then some people are super serious in their suits, but then you've also got some people who are just, hey, Andrew Harmon, great to see you, and hey, it's lovely to see you, and then you have a bit of a chin wag, and it's, oh, this is really cool what you're doing, and people who still have that passion about the games, those people are always fun to be with. Now I've got this many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I should hurry up a wee bit. Let's go into the relatively big, now we're getting into the relatively big UK stuff. So we'll start off, this is roughly in order of how much I would recommend them, as roughly in order of how much I'm looking forward to it, let's say. Tabletop Gaming Live. In the past, this has been under-attended, under-advertised, and overcosted for exhibitors. I am not going to go to Tabletop Gaming Live in 2022 as an exhibitor. I went the first 2 times. The first time it was too expensive. They apologized. They said they'd do a lot more advertisements. And frankly, Saturday, the busy day, it felt like way worse than it. Like, look, Spiel isn't as dense and busy as people say. Like, sure, if you go to halls 1 and 3, there's so many people, and it's really big, and there's hundreds of thousands of people, but it's all spread out. And it's all about the density, frankly. It's all about how many people are wandering past my stand. I had ages where okay, at a small convention, at Conpulsion, at Uncon, I can understand. I'm standing there for an hour and potentially everyone else is involved in some event, and so I end up chatting to the exhibitor next to me for an hour. But Glasgow Gaming Festival, I should say, because everything's in one big room, it manages to solve that. Everyone's kind of mulling around. There's the people doing the open gaming, there's the people doing the demo games, and there's me, and people wander over. Of course they do. Tabletop Gaming Live felt... It felt like, I don't know, Thursday at Essen Spiel. And Essen Spiel is very unusual in that it's a 4-day convention, not just a 3-day thing. And most conventions every convention I've talked about so far is basically either 1 or 3 days. But Essen, as an exhibitor, you might arrive on the Monday or the Tuesday, get set up. Then Wednesday is, hey, everything's set up, we're all good, and I'm just going to have a pre-party, I go out with friends. But Thursday, okay, it's the first day, but everyone is focusing on the big stuff. And then Saturday, Friday, those are the busy days where even at my stand, you've got people coming over. But Tabletop Gaming Live, it just wasn't worth it. There's no big connections that I could make there. I wasn't reaching a new audience. And even though I ended up both years when I did the maths, I made maybe 20 quid profit, but bear in mind that I was traveling by bike to there and I was living about half an hour cycle away. So yeah, what I'm coming to is that it's really overcosted for exhibitors. But as a punter, it's fantastic, because as a punter, you almost want the opposite. As a punter, why is that playing? As a punter, if other people are waiting around for you, if the exhibitors don't have that many people hanging around, well, you can get a demo game in easily. And wait, is it just 2 days? 17 to 18. Interesting. So it's 9 to 6. And then there's open gaming until 12, and then there's 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. So it is fairly short. I will go as a punter. I'll go and check it out. I might take a few games of my own in case someone asks, hey, what do you make, or wants to play it. But I'm, not going to try to contravene their thing. I'm definitely not going to be selling anything or doing any guerrilla stuff like that. But yes, before pre-pandemic 2020, I felt it's worth me going as a punter. I want to enjoy it. I will have fun. It's a nice place to go, but it's just not worth it as an exhibitor. And if you like things that feel a bit more quiet, there were really big halls. Let me give them a few awards. They've got the widest in the UK. They have the widest alleys. It's really good if you are needing a wheelchair or walking sticks or anything like that. You won't feel embarrassed, and you can stay a bit of a distance. I think that UK Games Expo 2021 might have had equally wide alleyways, but because Tabletop Gaming Live was a bit less dense, it meant that you could navigate the thing more easily. That's a good thing. And to be fair, they did have quite a few exhibitors. They did have a decent library once Ludicrous got involved, and they did have quite a few demo games going on. So I could imagine myself definitely having a lot of fun for a couple of days, frankly, like I could at any of these things. Tabletop, Dragonmeet. Yeah, Dragonmeet. I went there last year because, it started up again. Dragonmeet is cool. It's a quick one-day thing. This is really weird in that it's a big convention, not like big like UK Games Expo, but I would say it's a medium-sized, like a big medium-sized convention. And it's thousands of people, but it's all packed into one day. it is split across multiple floors, which is less than ideal. But they are kind of limiting the joy of going there as a destination event because it is one day. And I think that, yes, if you're going there from inside London, 100% so worth going. If you're going from like the top of Scotland, if you're based in, I don't know, Hamilton, or if you're based in, I don't know, Perth or whatever, Dundee, then coming down for just one day, it feels, again, that's like a big expense. And what's the payoff? One day. Yeah, it's fun. There's loads of trade hall stuff happening. There's constant seminars. There's constant demo games. There's loads of exhibitors. And as an exhibitor, it's actually, now I think about it, it's a no-brainer. It's like fairly moderately priced. There is a good amount of business over this one day, and I will keep going as long as I'm based around London. It's a no-brainer for me. And when I went as a punter, I had fun. And there's a Playtest UK, you can try new games, you can demonstrate your games if you're working on a prototype, sign up with Playtest UK ahead of time, and they will give you a 1 hour slot to try your game with people. This is like a good, full, convention, but it's just smushed into just one day. And I do think that it's slightly sad. I just feel like if they'd relax a wee bit and have the next day as well, then it would be more of a destination. Is Dragonmeet accessible? Oof. There are a lot of escalators. There are lifts. Let me double check. There's no accessibility thing here. Yeah, this is kind of, yeah, you will need, I would suggest going onto their Facebook page and asking on their Facebook page, because I do remember seeing a lot of lifts. I actually don't like lifts. I avoid lifts wherever I can. I think it's not to do that I have a phobia or anything. It's just that the waiting, I'd rather just go up the escalator or go up the stairs. And so I think it's accessible, but I can't tell. I'm fairly sure it is, but I can't tell you for 100% certain. I do apologize. Dragonmeet. So yeah, we're getting into what people might call big conventions. And Tabletop Scotland doesn't have a website up just now, but it will be held 27th and 28th of August, as you can see on their Twitter web banner. Tabletop Scotland basically said, you know what, Scotland needs a big convention. We aren't happy with a small convention like Conpulsion saying it's the biggest in Scotland. This feels a bit shameful. I mean, Conpulsion, it's great, but it is a small convention. Whereas we want something chunky with thousands of people. And they have succeeded. Again, they have fairly wide aisles. I mean, nowhere is going to be quite as wide as Tabletop Gaming Live, but I think that was unintentional because it was seriously underattended. But yeah, Tabletop Scotland, between all the demo tables, between all the all the exhibitor tables are kind of like islands so that people can navigate around, which is really cool. They've got between all the open gaming tables, people can go around and wander up and down, which is really cool. And sure, you might occasionally find someone who's like moved their chair all the way they can possibly do, and like if someone on the other side has done the same thing, then you might need to ask them to squish in a wee bit. But it's based in Perth, which is accessible once you're in Scotland. And so if you're outside Scotland, the best way to go is probably go up to Glasgow, and in Glasgow to Perth, and then get an Airbnb for a few nights. And lovely place. I mean, it's hopefully might be sunny. It's literally on an ice rink, so they melt all the ice, and then they just have a bit of ground. Sorry, I'm keeping my eye out in case the beetroots come. But yes, Tabletop Scotland is awesome. I agree with Ian here. And wait a minute, I've not done Festival International Jewel or Essen. Okay, Airecon. Airecon is happening very soon. Airecon, I would recommend Airecon. And if you are interested in helping me out at Airecon, I do actually need more people. But yes, Airecon is probably the best convention for events and open gaming. I know that's a bit like for like open gaming, for like just doing things. Look, yes, UK Games Expo has a much bigger size. Like Airecon, all of these things I would say are basically medium-sized. They are big, but they're not huge. I would say that UK Games Expo is huge in that it's on the international radar. Like Airecon is at the point where it is on the international radar, but it's not the thing that people will be coming in for. Yes, you've got potentially. Let me actually see who's coming. Didn't mean to zoom in. Exhibitor list. There we go. So if we look at who is exhibiting in this year, you see Arian Games, Badger, Bedsit. I'm just going to shout out the people that I know. Bedsit, that's basically just Paul. Board Game Hub, very small. Lots of very small companies that I'm seeing. Geek and Son, obviously. Oh, Hachette Board Game UK, they're distributing stuff. Oh, Honey Badger Games, they make edible dice. Lovely peeps. Oh, Imagination Gaming, they show off games within different schools and they do lots of great stuff. There we go, Lucky Duck Games. So you've got one international person coming in, and PSC Games. You've got me, of course. There's me, SSG, Formless Rose, Traveling Man, Wutan, and Zatu. And in the past, you have had Ludicreations and people like that, but it's not the convention for people overseas to come in. But I think I asked Vincent, and also, oh, this is terrible. What's the name of the person the Nutella-loving person in charge of Ludicreations. And they said, yeah, it's not a convention that's going to give us lots of profit, but it's just so much fun to be there. Because when you look at the opening times, let's see where I can find the opening times. Beginner's Guide. And like, this is honestly one of the best websites out of all of these. You can probably tell us, like, the good peeps like you. This is how you promote your thing, for goodness sake. You say, hey, what's going on? And what are the events? And yeah, Friday, there's these special events. There's In the King's Suite. There's Draftosaurus Rex, Whopping Wits and Wagers, Mega Park, Board Game Pub Quiz, Ultimate Werewolf, Extreme, Mega, Ultra Edition. And then we've got Savannah, Mega Park, Strike, Shipper Showdown, and Jolly Boats, and I'm running In a Bond. I might ask if it can be changed to Yogi Stock Guru, top 10 games at Airecon, things like that. Then there's a bit of a description of all of these, and Mark's put busy events. So I've got, there's daily events at 2 p.m, and there's laughs and prizes if you join in my daily 2 p.m. events. And Saturday I'm doing In a Bond, which is like In a Bind or Yogi, but you have some people doing the stocks and shares. So some people are doing the contorting like the companies, but then some people are trying to hurt the companies. But it's, oh my gosh, I should have made that window bigger. Why doesn't someone tell me to make the window bigger? I do apologize. But yeah, I'm biased, but I think everyone should come to... I think everyone should attend these. And also remember to come for the exclusive... Where is it? There is a special card that I made. I showed the art yesterday, but this is one side of a wee whimsical creature, and this is the other side. And that's going to be a special card that, unless you work for me or unless you're like, yeah, like even Ian, who I love, like even Josie, like unless you work for me, in which case, I'll just give you a copy. But like, there's 3 ways to get it. Either you can buy the game and you get a promo card, or you've already bought the game, because I want to encourage everyone to buy the game and then bring it to conventions. And so if you buy the game before and then you bring it to the convention and you just say, hey, here's my copy, can I get a promo card? I will give you a promo card. And I'm planning to do that at every convention I go to while stocks last. Maybe not Diceni, because Diceni, just the way it's open entry, it brings about some different considerations. But yeah, all the other conventions that I'm exhibiting at after FBGCon, I will from now on have a special promo card that you can only get that year, that convention. And just bring along a game about wee whimsical creatures and try to identify them after some mixed noises and show it to me and say, hey. And of course, if people want to grab the cosplayer cards, then they can do that. But yes, I have events every day at 2 p.m. and there's seminars, which is really cool. There's like mega games, and it's all about fostering opportunities for people to play together. The mega games. Yeah, watch a thing. Play a big game together. Do a quiz together. Listen to a thing together. Watch a thing together. Yeah, again. Yeah, like the giant wits and wagers, like for the size of the convention, this has always been Mark Cook's focus. And I am biased because I went to Airecon 2, as it's now called, and I made in a giant bind, or giants in a bind, depending on what you want to call it. And it was like giant cards this big, and it was completely ridiculous. But it is so good. And where's the... Yeah, they need these things to be up there. And like RPGs, there's like people who are hosting RPGs. So you go to the schedule, and then there's all these things happening that you can maybe book yourself into. And obviously, if you look again at the exhibitor list, yes, there's all these people, but this for me is really interesting. So Airecon has a reduced price if you only do demos. So if you're willing to do demos and not sell stuff, then you, as an exhibitor, you pay a lesser fee. What this means is that if you're planning a Kickstarter, if you're playtesting, if you're someone who's more focused on designing and not so much on publishing, then you can get a cheaper stand. And it's great as someone going along there. I took advantage of it in the past. Nowadays, I actually want to sell more stuff, but it's also really good for people who are coming along and saying, hey, I know that at these places I will be able to just try a demo. But remember, please do come to, these sorts of places, like I'm highlighting my name for obvious reasons. But yeah, we do all love people coming by and having a chat. I would love to have my tables be basically constantly full and be able to say to people, hey, if you'd like a game, well, this game actually takes up to 5 people and there's only 2 people playing it right now. So you could jump in 10 minutes. And yeah. Oh, apparently Ian will be rocking a red fez. I am happy to hear that. Matt says, I really need to make a Airecon, just haven't had the time. Yeah, I get that. There's lots of stuff going on. Remember, I would say just because it is 3 days doesn't mean that you have to be there every single day. If you can make the Saturday only, if you can make it as a one-day trip, because, I don't know, Birmingham to Harrogate, is that fairly close? It feels like it should be fairly close. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But yeah, you could make it a one-day trip and you would still have so much fun. And where's the opening times? I wish I could find that. Opening times. Is that in the about? About, no. Opening times FAQs, maybe. I can't find the opening times. That's opening times. It says definitely somewhere, but yeah, anyway, the point is that with Airecon, as like I said, I think all the exhibitors, they only exhibit until 5 o'clock, but there's so much happening after that. And I think, check it out, basically. 10 a.m. until, I think, 5 o'clock on Friday and Saturday, and until 4 o'clock on Sunday. I mean, Friday and Saturday, and 4 o'clock on Sunday. And I, of course, will be there on Thursday, both mainly to set up, but also it is nice if you do get in on Thursday, there will be people in the pub. And if you do want to head back on Monday, then there will be people ready to play games late into Sunday night. Even though the convention closes, people will have been there for a while. And last time, like maybe 5, 6, 10 of us were hanging around and playing games afterwards in a board game cafe relatively nearby. Good times. Airecon. And then, finally, and you'll notice I've done this roughly in size order, but finishing with the huge convention, the only huge convention in the UK, is UK Games Expo. There's about 20,000 people here, I think. There's a bunch of people, 106 days to go. That feels like quite a bit. About 3 months. Never too early to start planning your travel, I guess. I really should. Once I get the money that I am owed, I will be booking a place for many volunteers. So, what's on? Well, it's a way away, but you've got, the preview, which is basically closed entry. It's just exhibitors, press, industry buyers, distributors, and retailers. And so that's really a short event for 3 hours to allow exhibitors to, because so many people have come from around the world, they want to make it so that they can say, hey, you're interested in taking on this game? Here, check it out. And that is definitely worth heading into. Open in April. That's good to know for me. Let's see, who plan your visit. Maybe opening hours. So there are hundreds of people here, right? There's people from the UK, sure, but even last year there were people from overseas who were represented by people in the UK who had their stock shipped over, and then they had like basically a shell, essentially, if that makes sense. This is fantastic, and this is what the UK has to offer. This is it. If you go to the UK Games Expo, there's enough to see for like a month. I'm not exaggerating. I think that you could, if it were like a Groundhog Day, and it was like just the same day over and over again, I think it would be at least 30 days before like, oh, you know what, now I'm thinking about carrying on. Like, that would be a really good day to have a Groundhog Day at. Like, if I woke up at UK Games Expo and then it was, I don't wake up with the radio, but like if I woke up and then there was like from my alarm, and then I woke up and I was like, I don't know how I would tell that it's the same thing, because that's a really nice motif, that song in Groundhog Day. But you know what I mean? Like, if I were there and then I went in and then I was like, hey, it's Sunday now, and then I was like, what are you talking about? It's Saturday. has UK Games Expo already gotten to you? And then I would sort of be checking my alarm, and maybe my phone would say Saturday, and be like, what is going on? Is this like a big trick? And then I'd run to WH Smith nearby, and I'd be like, what's going on? Like, all the newspapers, and I'd like ask other people, because like I'd probably be more likely to believe that everyone at UK Games Expo was playing a prank on me, rather than I had actually been stuck in a time loop. But yes, if I were stuck in a time loop, the point is that would be a really good day to be stuck in a time loop for. That's all I'm saying. Because yes, there's so many seminars, there's so many games to play, there's so many things to see, there's so many people to converse with, there's so many people to demo to as an exhibitor if you're walking there. Like, last year, the interesting thing is that a lot of smaller people said that their sales actually went up, because before, people might have been spending so much time at the bigger stands, but this time, yeah, Asmodee was there, like big, but there weren't as many big peeps as before. And so I would say that in 2021, people spent a little bit more time looking. They didn't just go by my stand and say, oh, well, that's probably not for me, or I've never heard of it, I'm going to walk by, or oh, that game doesn't look interesting. They would take the time for me to give them a 2-minute, 5-minute explanation of literally everything, and once they'd realize, oh wow, I wasn't interested in making noises, I'm not liking being that silly, but I do like the idea of making words with my friends. And yeah, I'm like this. Like, when I'm at a convention, I don't do it now so much, but like, I try to do it on Wednesday at Essen, the day before it's open to the public. I try to do it. That's part of why I do my running up and down around 8 a.m. at UK Games Expo, like sometimes. And back in the day, I would try to understand what's at everyone's stand. If someone's got lots of things, I would try to get a sense of each game that was available for demo. And that's the key thing, not just looking at it and saying, okay, I understand one of these games, that's not for me. But looking at it and saying, okay, that game, probably not for me, but what's about this game? Let me understand it. Let me actually get a sense of what's going on. And if you take the time to do that, there's enough for more time than you have. There's like so much going on. There's the if you want, I would advise people, frankly, make a long weekend out of it. Like, drive over, travel on the Thursday night, get a place on the Friday. It is expensive, but you can potentially make a booking, not at the NEC nearby itself, but in Birmingham. Travel in 40 minutes each day. It's getting like Essen, where people do travel in like an hour each day to kind of get there. It makes sense because it is a big destination event. And then that is the problem with a big event like this. I mean, that's the lovely thing about Bastion, where I can play games, and if someone says, hey, would you like to play a quick 20-minute game? I don't have to think about, oh, maybe after 20 minutes, and then it will take me half an hour to get back, and then I'll be really tired. I'm just thinking, you know what, I've got the energy to play right now, and I'm going to play, then I'm going to walk up one flight of stairs and I'll be in bed. Hooray! That is the lovely thing about Bastion, about KCON, about those smaller conventions. That is the best thing about them. Conversely, the best thing about these big conventions is that you get so much, and take advantage of that. Take advantage of the demos. But yeah, still, please don't forget, like, smaller people like myself, and I am going to try and have a new game at literally every convention I go to, and also a free demo card, so a free promo card. This one's for Airecon, and I will draw more for literally all the conventions I'm going to. So yes, please go to check out us smaller people as well. But also, I understand there's like all these people from outside of the UK, and you want to check them out. You want to check out the other person. You want to check out the people that you don't necessarily get to interact with and you haven't already demoed with. And so Yeah, Ian, I forgive you if at UK Games, I mean, even if you weren't working, I would forgive you if you weren't to spend very much time at my stand. I understand, there's more exciting things. Josie says, I find it too large to go round in one day. This year I'm going to book into demos on the Friday, as I got stuck not being able to play things as it was fully pre-booked. But this was pre-COVID. Yeah. I mean, I think if you go round, like my stand, I pride myself on pretty much always having space. Like, you might not always have a seat available, but if you stay for 5 minutes, I will basically always be able to get you into a game. And that's partially because my games are short, and it's also partially because I focus on demoing the games that do go to higher player counts. So yes, I might have a table demonstrating whatever my latest thing is, even if that thing is a 2-player game or something that takes a bit longer, but I will always have, at UK Games Expo, I would expect to have a table for Wibble, which people can jump in from halfway through the game, and a table for Grabble, or maybe turnips and beetroots and radishes, where it takes about 2 minutes to play the whole thing. So once people play, hey, another person can jump in, and it can go up to like 12. And then, there's probably going to be a table for a game about for compliments going on. But I try to be like, this is the place where if you want a quick game, if something else is booked, come over. And even if you only have 10 minutes, I think I will be able to make it worth your while at my stand. Of course, I understand that, like, if you want to play the games that do take an hour or more to play, then they do need to do booking, and their player counts can be lower, and so they struggle a little bit more. Now, I'm going to take off the screen while I check out Essen and Festival International de Jeux, just to quickly find those on Google. Spiel, there we go, and Fest. So those are all the UK conventions that I've been at and could remember to talk about. So I guess my question to you at this point is, which one do you feel like you want to go to? And here is where I finish up with a couple of international conventions. I've already talked about Nuremberg, and of course, the Germans have what is one of the best known things in the world. So this is their little video. I think this gives, well done on them. I mean, it's not the prettiest thing, but they've got a big video telling you straight away what it's like. And yes, there's big crowds in halls 1 and 2, 3. There are bungee cords. That's in the it's like in a tube-like space. It's Pavilion, I think it's called. Yeah, there we go. That's the tube-like space again. And it's got stained glass on one side, which is quite pretty. There's all sorts of things. There are people having fun. And it's interesting because Tony Hyams made a point about UK Games Expo saying, look, my job is weird. I give a bunch of people permission to be on the bits of space. And I buy a bit of space from some people. And then I charge other people to come in and see the space. And it's all down to those exhibitors to do something interesting with that space. So hopefully by the time that those people come, then the people who bought the space will make the people who come have a good time. And it's a really interesting thing. And so, yes, so Spiel is the biggest. As always, it is basically all about the exhibitors. I will say that Spiel, it does not have events. It does not really have stuff going on in the way that Airecon and UK Games Expo, it feels like more of a... It's not got the same feeling to it. It's much more of a trade fair. Yes, there are competitions. Yes, you can book into games. Yes, if you wander around, you can get demo games. Yes, you will have fun seeing everything. But there's no open gaming area. There's nothing like that. Every bit of it has been bought by an exhibitor. It was engineered primarily as a way of showing off people and getting them to pay to show themselves off. And it does give it a little, but simultaneously, if you want to see the new hotness, if you're all about, ooh, what's coming new this year? If you're all about, ooh, I want to see games from Iran and Turkey and Korea. I mean, I talked recently about Present, which is like this wee game from Korea, and this isn't even on Board Game Geek, and I haven't bothered to put it on Board Game Geek yet, but maybe I should. But anyway, the point is that Present is... There's so many games, so many more than are even on Board Game Geek. If you want to check them out, then yes, you can see the Taiwanese and the Italians and the French and the German, but like also the Malaysians and the Singaporeans and the Iranians, like who fly over from Iran and check it out. And so I would say that Spiel within Europe, if you want a good sense of what board gaming is right now, what companies are excited to show you, and you are aware in your mind that this is a trade fair. Ultimately, what all of these companies are trying to do is to sell you stuff. I would say that Essen is probably the best example of what is being made and sold right now in board games. And I know that's a bit vague, but yeah, hopefully that tells you how I feel about it. Finally, we've got Festival International de Jeux. Yeah, I've been 2019 and 2020. I had a lot of fun at it. So many things took me away. They have tournaments. They have a little bit of, video game stuff and simulation stuff. It's essentially two main floors. The entire top floor, like the ground floor, is child friendly, and the entire top floor, yes, you've got Gigamic who sell all their stuff. You've also got Gigamic downstairs, so you've got Gigamic upstairs showing off anything that is suitable for someone like 5 or 6 or 8 or adults, because a lot of these games, like, they might be abstract. They might be something like Corridor, where you can play it with children, but you can play it at a high strategic level with adults as well. You've got downstairs where it's games that maybe aren't suitable for children, whether that's because they're half an hour long, whether it's because they're an hour long or 2 hours long, whether there's a bit more strategy than you expect a child to really be able to engage with. Maybe it's because that's not the target audience. Like, it might still be a super silly game. Like, there was the spinning top game that I first saw downstairs, and there was, like, a lot of this stuff is still child-friendly, but then you've also got Galapagos, which is about kind of being trapped on an island, and it's like upstairs, even toddlers are allowed. And then you see stuff like Dragonimo, and they've got the best children's games of the year. Like, yeah, sure, Spiel des Jahres is a thing, and they will have the games that won the Spiel des Jahres at Essen, but at Festival International de Jeux, it's an actual place where it says, hey, not only did these things win, but by being nominated, they get the right to have their game on a little demo table, and you can try it, and all of the games you can try it out and see what you think of them. And I'll always make sure to play a game or two of each of the children's ones because they are fairly quick. Whereas the adults ones, if they're a couple of hours, sometimes it's more of a partial demo anyway. But yeah, you can see that there's lots of French companies as we go through here. Lots of these French companies you might not even see in Germany. In Essen reminds us of, yes, board gaming is bigger than just Essen. Essen is the companies that are able to afford to go there. There's probably so many more Taiwanese, Korean, Thai people making board games that just can't afford to go to Essen. I mean, I've decided that it's not worth me going to Essen, frankly, as an exhibitor anymore. But yeah, Le Jeu de Soa, I don't know these people. I'm sure they make perfectly fine games. And you wander around. The amount of stuff here. Okay, so Festival International Jeu primarily focuses on lighter, shorter games, I would say. If you like Euro games, if you like multi-hour Ameritrash, if you like things that you would spend, hours and hours playing with friends, this is maybe not the best convention for you. But if you like playing games that take 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, half an hour, games that you can wander around and learn, and also there's no obligation to buy. That's a really interesting thing. No one is selling. Literally no one is, well, that's a lie. Some people are selling, but the vendors are always separated from the demo people. So there's never you never feel like you've got the obligation to buy. Do you know what I mean? So like Gigamic, they will show a few games and they will then if you want to actually buy them, then you have to go over around the corner to the little shop that's working with them. And there will be some shops who are there just to sell stuff. But you still see some like big, massive stuff. And ooh, that's really cool. But then you've got like Proxyjeu, who's making accessible games. And they've got like little tactile bits. And what they're really focusing on is just spreading their message. And the same with all these people, frankly. Oh, I didn't know Smarts went there. And I've been told that this is the best convention, arguably, for business to business in board gaming. I was told this by someone who was French, but now lives in Taiwan, I want to say. I do apologize for mixing those up. But there's a lot of good stuff happening here. As a designer, I was able to have a few pitches with people. As a person working for Gigamic, obviously they got me in to run a few events for Yogi. It was such a good time, and Gigamic got an actual boxing ring, like literal boxing ring. It was, and then there was a table in the middle of the game. And it's honestly, this might be my favorite convention. Like it's free entry. So anyone can go in. It does exactly what Diceni does. Obviously, the clientele in Cannes, people are a little bit more posh, people are a little bit more wealthy, but then on the ground floor, I saw a couple of mothers with a couple of children and we played Dragonmeet, and they had never played board games together, and I was able to pick it up, and they were like, "Oh, how do you pick it up so quickly?" And Dragonmeet is like super, super simple. But like there's like a massive area for strollers. Like if you want to leave your thing outside, you can. There is airport security type check as you come in. So if there's anything metal, they won't let you in unless you kind of show it. Okay, yeah, it's just this. It's a prototype or whatever. If it's something that you don't need inside, they might ask you to leave it outside. And that's actually really good for security. And so if you want to be there from the opening time, you have to pay a fairly expensive thing. I think it's something like 50 euros, 70 euros, something like that. I've never paid, Gigamics paid for me, but if you want to go there and you're not bothered about being there right on the dot, you can just turn up in the afternoon, 12 o'clock. Sure, you won't have been there when it opens, you won't have spent the whole day, but if you don't feel the need to, then you don't need to buy anything. And so that's why, as the day goes on, more and more people come in, and it becomes a way of really reaching the people outside. It's not just, let's spread new board games to people who already love it, like Essen does. It's not just, hey, let's get people together and playing a lot of games together like Airecon does. It's really all about, hey, let's spread the message of board gaming. And I think this is such a big thing in France. Sure, in Germany, they also have the ludotheks, games libraries, which they have in France. But I think in France, the basic principle is that they don't have conventions where you demo and then you're expected to buy. That's not what happens. You buy, you play, and then maybe you buy, or maybe you buy online, or maybe you buy from a shop later on. It's a very different culture. And I think that's a really nice thing where there's never the hard sell. And yes, it does kind of mean that the companies who go there are the companies who can afford to pay for advertising without getting any sales to offset the cost. But I would love to have something like this, which is essentially subsidized, I've been told, by the government as a cultural awareness thing. For me, out of all the conventions I've been at, also it's by the sea, it's warm, it's in Cannes. I mean, that's a good time. Yep, that's the end. And that's all the things I want to talk about. It took me quite a while. It took me 2 hours. Didn't expect it to take this long. Josie says, yeah, I always will get stuck in the bring and buy. And yeah, while ago said, if I had the money and time, I'd attend all of them. Sorry, just need a wee drink. Still need to drink. Effervescent vitamins in water. Okay, so before we finish up, I am going to go to question of the day. Question of the day. It's a little bit before we separate our ways. Question of the day. My question to you is, yes, what conventions are you planning to be at in the next year? Which ones would you like to go to? Which ones can you afford to go to? Which ones will you prioritize? Personally, looking back at them, so out of everything I said, if Glasgow Games Festival turns up, I will definitely go. I can stay with family, which is lovely, and have a good time. And so I do multiple things with that trip. Compulsion online, not going to, but I will be going in 2023. I am going to BGDevCon this weekend. Let's go roughly in chronological order. Then I'm going to Airecon. I'm really hoping to go to Bastion if I can. I just love it. I just need to afford the train ticket. And I'm going to chase the person who is meant to pay me again. It feels a bit much, but I sent them an invoice January 2021. Then I sent them another invoice in August 2021. And then when I saw them at London Toy Fair, I said, please pay me. I am actually in debt. It would really be really nice if you would pay me. And then they said, sorry, I will pay you next week. And then they didn't pay me next week. And last week I reminded them. And then they said, sorry, I'm away on holiday. I will definitely pay next week. And so, yeah, I think at this point, yeah. Anyway, but if I get the train ticket, I will be going to Bastion. It's just a lovely time. I'm doing Diceni. I'm booked in for as an exhibitor. Bastion, I would like to go Toy Fair was lovely. I skipped Spielwarenmesse. I didn't feel comfortable going. Tabletop Gaming Live, I'll probably go. I mean, at that point, I think I'll be able to afford it as a personal holiday. Dragonmeet, it's always worth going as a business expense, 100%. Tabletop Scotland, I don't have plans yet. I will need to check. Airecon, I'm definitely going. UK Games Expo is my biggest show of the year. And Festival in Trashajuju, I skipped this year, hoping to go next year. Spiel, I will be going, but not with my own stand. I will be helping at Vagard's stand. Vagard will probably have some of my games there, but I will be, basically at Vagard's stand and also setting up some pitching meetings. So that is what I am going to prioritize. Josie says, I wish they were more spread out throughout the year. I like the look of Bastion and Airecon, so I will plan for one of them in 2023. There are things happening almost every weekend. I mean, if we look chronologically, like Bastion is normally in January. Then in February, assuming you're just within the UK, you'll have the BGDevCon. March, you've got Airecon. April, May, you've got Diceni. June, you've got UK Games Expo. And sure, nothing in July, but August, you've got Tabletop Gaming Scotland. Then September, you've got Tabletop Gaming Live. October, you've got KCon, just after Essen. And November, if it starts up again, there will be Glasgow Games Festival. And December, of course, is Dragonmeet. So that is actually something every month. I don't think it could be far better spread out. Much better spread out. But I do. Look, what I've shown is just the things that I've been at, except for BGDevCon, which no one's been at. Josie says, this year I will do Diceni and UK Games Expo. Can't afford any abroad at the moment. If I were to pick one more, what should I pick? Interesting question. I would say come to Airecon and give me a hand. But in all seriousness, Airecon has the advantage of it is big. There's thousands of people, but it's multi-day and people get to know each other and there's a lot of open gaming. It feels like the convention that, if not by raw space, certainly by percentage, it is the most open gaming of any convention around. And there's still a decent number of exhibitors and stuff. So I would suggest that, and Casey didn't. One in autumn would be good, says Josie. In autumn, maybe KCon. It depends whether you like a quieter thing or whether you like a bigger thing. I would say that the advantage of something like KCon is that you've got but again, this is just what I've personally enjoyed and what I've personally done. There is just so you know, I did put a post up on the Board Game Trading and Chat UK. I've still not finalized my decision for who is helping me out. There is still technically an open position of someone to help me, which you would get like free accommodation and all sorts of stuff and potentially financial help with getting there. But and even if there's the three of us, myself and Jason and someone else, we will still need And I've got Tom as well helping maybe an hour or two on Saturday and Sunday, but I do definitely need more people here and there. So selfishly, yes, I'd love you to come but yeah, out of all of these, if me as an exhibitor, I would prioritize UK Games Expo. UK Games Expo, without a shadow of a doubt, is the convention where the prices are actually reasonable to exhibit there. And I can get people, 2019, if I can reproduce that it was, in terms of numbers sold, in terms of like the amount of fun I had, in terms of like the amount of camaraderie we had, like UK Games Expo for me was brilliant. But if I go back to, as an punter, which one of these would I recommend? Going to Cannes is super expensive, but that's my favourite. Otherwise, yeah, as a punter, frankly, I think that I would possibly recommend one of the smaller ones. Like, try it, go there, and then tell people, hey, I'm new, I don't really know anyone. Organize a couple of games. If I'm there, then like, come and say hello. I'm always up for a new game. But if I'm already playing something, then come and say hello, and maybe we can play together for the next game or something. But yeah, I'm like quite extroverted, but obviously I don't want to. You can only speak or be playing with so many people at once. But I think that these small conventions, Bastion and KCon, being able to see the other people, being able to get to know the other people over a long weekend, that is fantastic. And so yeah, that, you know what, less selfishly, that gives a different feel, because yeah, I think that you're missing a convention where people get together and stay in the hotel and stay there for 3 days. So yeah, go to that one, Josie, even though I really want you to come to Airecon and help me. But yeah, that is that. And so now, over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. Over to you. What are you up to? I promise that I care. Please feel free to share. I am personally going to take it slightly easy today. I'm waiting for the beetroot. I'm going to try and sort out my finances. I have to pay a water bill. I'm going to try and work out whether it's better for me to go more into debt with the bank or to delay paying that by another day, which is a really horrible situation to be in. And if the board game publisher had paid me the amount that they owe me, when I sent them the invoice in January 2021 and they still haven't paid me over a year later, it would be, I would not be in this position, because I would be a few £1,000s richer than I currently am. Anyway, sorry to, I'm sorry that I keep griping, but this is like the biggest thing on my mind today, because it's just like, it's really problematic for me. Anyway, I think I might need a bit more sleep. I am going dancing again tonight, I hope, assuming that I don't get, like, I seem to be getting a bit of a cold, but yeah, I'll go dancing tonight. There's salsa and bachata and also potentially open dancing. Also, I'll probably try and get things ready to playtest tomorrow. I'm going to focus on a game about strategically selecting 7 cards, hoping they synergize. That's what I'm currently calling it, although the name's still under development. Josie is driving down to Plymouth to see their son. which means a weekend of going to model shops, board games, and them spending all the money on food. Wow. All of Josie's money on food, okay. Yeah, I'm just pondering what I'm going to eat. What's it called? Anyway, sorry. I think I've got, half a pizza, some chicken poppers, and half a cucumber, so that's a decent meal. I'll eat that. But yeah, not much more to say. I might do a little bit more drawing. I'll take it easy. I'm probably going, do some more stuff for future conventions, plan out future games, and but I am definitely coming down with a cold, and it's not good. It's not COVID, but it is some sort of cold, and maybe in this day and age, maybe I shouldn't even be going to dancing if I'm coming down with a cold. I don't know. But listen, recap and wrap up before we finish up. To recap and wrap up, conventions are brilliant. I did a whole bunch of drawing yesterday. Check out my drawings. Yay, go me. Yay. 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 And yay. And also my typographies. Yay. I made this. I drew this. I'm happy with it. So that is something I talked about. And then I talked about a whole bunch of conventions. City of Games stopped, but it was great while it lasted. Same with Uncon. As Ian said, light is super important. Glasgow Games Festival might be coming back. It's a lovely one-day convention. Easygoing. BGDevCon, if I might or might not do it again. I might just kind of fold it into the 100th episodes and do it as an online thing. Compulsion. It is a student-run thing. Labyrinthine towers and lots of little rooms, and it's little rooms keep you separated from other people, which is a little bit sad. But if you like RPGs, if you're interested in RPGs, this is brilliant. FBGCon, I'm going to this weekend. There's new conventions popping up all the time. Diceni, it's a one-day thing. By having no entry fee, it just means that there's a lot more people, better representation. KCon and Bastion, honestly, very similar in feel. It's just that it's in terms of the organizing, it's the people who make it, all of these things, and it's the people who've, like, if half of the people stopped coming to either of these, then it would be totally different. If Yvonne Sang was not at Bastion, it would feel different. If I go next weekend and Yvonne isn't there, I will be disappointed. I might ask Yvonne if Yvonne is going to be there. And there's the Toy Fair, definitely worth going if you're interested in the industry. If you're in the industry, Nuremberg, better for pitching. Tabletop Gaming Live, they're trying to make it work. It used to be in London. They're now moving to a new venue. I'll be interested to see how it goes. Dragonmeet, many floors of a place. Historically, it's been more about role-playing games, but there is a good solid amount of board gaming and party games as well. Tabletop Gaming Scotland, nice. This is like the biggest in Scotland. Airecon, like the best for open gaming. UK Games Expo, this is like the flagship one for the whole of the UK. It's huge. It's so much going on. And yeah, genuinely, Josie, if you've not sorted out your accommodation yet, I'm hoping that I'll be able to sort it out within the next 2 weeks. And if you are comfortable sleeping on a bunk bed with other people in the same room, then let me know, and I'd love to have you as a volunteer if you're willing to help, like maybe a few hours each day. And Cannes is great, but obviously that requires international travel. But this is probably the most accessible convention I've ever been to in terms of it welcomes people from outside. There is no post. There is no. There is push buggy like space for people to hold at. Spiel, it's basically like a big shopping thing. And that is all the conventions. That's how you talked about. If you want to check me out, I'm Stuff by Bez everywhere. Check out stuffbybez.com/streams for future streams. I probably should have split this up into 2 parts in retrospect. But hey ho, some of the future ones are going to be quite a bit shorter to make up. Share, spread the word, lots of love. And thank you, everyone. Hello, Xate. It is lovely to see you. I hope that you're generally well. And yeah, always trying to get Xate onto the show. Well, anytime I see them, I say, hey, you should come on the show. But anyway, I hope that you're generally well. Xate, moderator at Boards Game Arena, community manager. That's the title. That sounds more impressive. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Josie, for suggesting the topic. Thank you to all the people responsible for these conventions, for doing these. Thank you, Xate, for popping in at the end. Thank you, Ian, for the funny messages. And yeah, just lots of love. That's pretty much it. And there is basically just one thing left to say, which is bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go through. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. And bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.